I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles, and if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Today, we're exploring one of the most profound and practical teachings in the entire course, creation and communication. And I know that might sound abstract or philosophical at first, but stay with me, because this understanding has the power to transform not just how you relate to God, but how you relate to every person in your life, every thought you think, and every action you take. Think about your day yesterday. How many times did you try to communicate something? A text message, a conversation with a colleague, an argument with someone you love, a prayer, even your internal dialogue with yourself. We're communicating constantly, aren't we? But here's the question that A Course in Miracles asks us to consider. What are we really communicating? And more importantly, are we truly communicating at all? Or are we simply reinforcing the walls of separation that the ego has built? Most of us have been taught that communication is about exchanging information, expressing our needs, or making ourselves understood. We speak, we write, we gesture, hoping that our message gets across. And creation? Well, that's something we do when we make things, build things, produce things in the physical world. We've been taught to see these as separate functions, haven't we? But A Course in Miracles reveals something radically different. It shows us that in God's kingdom, creation and communication are not two separate activities. They are one and the same. They are the natural extension of love, the inevitable overflow of what we truly are. And when we understand this, everything changes. The ego has convinced us that we create by manipulating matter, by controlling circumstances, by forcing our will upon the world. It has taught us that communication is a tool for getting what we want, for defending ourselves, for proving we're right and others are wrong. Under the ego's tutelage, both creation and communication become forms of separation, ways of reinforcing the belief that we are isolated individuals competing for limited resources in a hostile universe. But what if that entire paradigm is completely backwards? What if true creation has nothing to do with making things in the physical world and everything to do with extending the love that is our essence? What if real communication isn't about words at all, but about the joining of minds in the recognition of our shared reality? This is not just theoretical spiritual philosophy. This understanding has immediate, practical implications for your life right now. Every interaction you have today is an opportunity either to reinforce the ego's illusions of separation or to practice true communication that heals and unites. Every thought you think is either an act of miscreation based on fear or an extension of divine creation based on love. You see, we are creating all the time. Every moment we are extending either love or fear, truth or illusion. We cannot not create, because creation is our nature as children of God. The only question is whether we're creating with the ego or creating with the Holy Spirit, whether we're making illusions or extending reality. And here's what makes this so hopeful, so liberating. You don't have to learn how to create or how to truly communicate. You already know. It's your nature. You simply need to remove the blocks that the ego has placed in the way, the misunderstandings that have kept you from recognizing your own creative power and your natural ability to commune with all of life. So settle in, open your heart and mind, and let's explore together what it really means to create as God creates, and to communicate in the way that heals all separation and restores us to the awareness of our unity. Let's start by looking honestly at how the ego has twisted two of the most fundamental aspects of our divine nature: our ability to create and our ability to communicate. And I want you to really feel this, because once you see how the ego operates, you can't unsee it. And that recognition itself is the beginning of freedom. The ego has taught you that creation means making things. Building a business, writing a book, painting a picture, constructing a building. And yes, in the physical world, we do make things. But the ego wants you to believe that this is what creation really is. It wants you to think that you create separately, individually, in competition with others. It tells you that your creations are yours alone, that you must protect them, defend them, because someone else might steal them or destroy them. Do you see the separation inherent in this view? The ego's concept of creation is rooted in the belief that you are separate from your source and separate from everyone else. It tells you that you must take raw materials from the world and fashion them into something new, something that didn't exist before. And in doing so, it reinforces the fundamental illusion that you are separate from God, that you can create independently of Him. But here's where it gets even more insidious. The ego doesn't just distort creation, it completely perverts communication. Think about how you've been taught to communicate. You have thoughts and feelings inside you that are private, hidden, known only to you. And if you want others to know what you're thinking or feeling, you must translate those private experiences into words or gestures or facial expressions. You must encode your message, send it out into the world, and hope that the other person decodes it correctly. Under this system, communication is always incomplete, always subject to misunderstanding, always risky. You never really know if you've been understood. You never really know what's going on inside another person's mind. And so communication becomes a tool for manipulation, for persuasion, for defense, for attack. You use words to get what you want, to protect yourself, to prove you're right, to make others wrong. Look at your conversations yesterday. How many times were you truly communicating to join with another person? And how many times were you really trying to maintain your separateness, to defend your position, to prove your point? The ego uses communication to reinforce separation, not to bridge it. And here's perhaps the most painful distortion of all. The ego has convinced you that you cannot truly communicate with God. It tells you that God is far away, unknowable, mysterious. That you must use special words, special rituals, special intermediaries to reach Him. That your communication with the divine is one way, uncertain, probably not even heard. Prayer becomes begging, meditation becomes striving, and you're left feeling isolated, alone, cut off from your source. The ego fears genuine communication more than anything else. Why? Because true communication dissolves all boundaries. It reveals that minds are joined, not separate. It shows that what you think in secret affects everyone. It demonstrates that the privacy the ego prizes so highly is actually a prison. And when it comes to creation, the ego's ultimate fear is that you'll remember you cannot create anything real separately from God. That all your ego-based creations are actually miscreations, illusions that have no lasting reality. That your true creative power lies not in manipulating matter, but in extending love. The ego has built an entire world based on these distortions. And you've been living in that world, believing its lies about what it means to create and communicate. But today, we begin to see through the illusion. Now let's shift from the darkness of the ego's illusions into the light of truth. And I promise you, this truth is so beautiful, so liberating, that once you glimpse it, something in you will recognize it immediately. Because this isn't new information. This is remembering what you've always known at the deepest level of your being. True creation has nothing to do with making things in the physical world. True creation is extension. And extension is the natural, inevitable overflow of what you are. Think about the sun. Does the sun try to shine? Does it struggle to radiate light and warmth? No. Shining is simply what the sun does because of what it is. The sun extends its nature automatically, effortlessly, continuously. This is how God creates. God doesn't make things separate from himself. God extends himself, and that extension is creation. God is love, and love extends itself naturally. It cannot do otherwise. It doesn't choose to extend or not extend. Extension is its nature. And here's the truth that changes everything. You were created as an extension of God. You are God's creation. God's extension, God's love made manifest. And because you are created in God's likeness, you create as God creates. Not by making things separate from yourself, but by extending what you are. When you extend love, you are creating. When you extend peace, you are creating. When you extend joy, you are creating. This is your true creative function, your divine inheritance, your natural state of being. Can you feel how different this is from the ego's version? The ego says you create by doing, by manipulating, by forcing your will upon matter. But God says you create by being, by extending, by allowing your true nature to flow forth naturally. The ego's creation requires effort and struggle. God's creation is effortless, natural, inevitable. And here's where creation and communication become one. In God's kingdom, to create is to communicate, and to communicate is to create. Why? Because communication, in its truest sense, is not about exchanging words or information. Real communication is the sharing of being itself. It's the extension of your reality to include your brother. It's the recognition that minds are joined, not separate. When you truly communicate, you don't send a message across a gap, hoping it will be received correctly. You recognize that there is no gap. You join your mind with your brother's mind in the acknowledgement of your shared reality. You extend your awareness of truth, and in that extension, you create. You bring into your brother's awareness the love and wholeness that is the truth about both of you. This is why A Course in Miracles tells us that communication is communion. It's not an exchange between separate beings. It's the recognition of unity, the celebration of oneness, the extension of the love that we all share, because we are all extensions of the same source. Think about a moment when you felt truly connected to another person. Not just understood, but truly joined. Maybe a moment of deep love, of perfect empathy, of spontaneous unity. In that moment, weren't you communicating without words? Weren't you extending your being to include theirs? Weren't you creating something beautiful, something real, something that transcended the physical world? That's what you were made to do. That's your function as God's child. To extend the love you are. To create by sharing your reality. To communicate by joining rather than separating. And the miracle is that when you create as God creates, when you extend love, you don't lose anything. You don't diminish yourself by giving. On the contrary, you increase. You become more aware of the infinite abundance that you are. In God's kingdom, there is no loss in giving because giving and receiving are the same. When you extend love, you simultaneously experience the love you are. When you create peace, you experience peace. When you communicate truth, you recognize truth in yourself. This is creation. This is communication. This is your inheritance. This is what you were made for. So we've seen the ego's distortions, and we've glimpsed the beauty of true creation and communication. Now comes the practical question that matters most. How do we actually live this? How do we restore holy communication in our daily lives? How do we shift from the ego's way of relating to God's way of extending? This is where the Holy Spirit becomes absolutely essential. The Holy Spirit is the bridge between the ego's world of separation and God's reality of unity. He is the translator, the mediator, the one who can take our fearful, confused communications and transform them into extensions of love. You don't have to figure this out alone. You have divine help available in every moment. Here's the beautiful simplicity of it. Every interaction you have today is an opportunity to practice holy communication. Every conversation, every email, every thought about another person, every prayer. The Holy Spirit is asking you one simple question in each of these moments. Do you want to use this communication to separate or to join? Do you want to reinforce the ego's illusions or extend God's truth? Let's get practical. When you're about to speak to someone, pause for just a moment. Take a breath and ask the Holy Spirit, what is the purpose of this communication? If you're honest, you'll often find that the ego wants to use the conversation to prove you're right, to defend yourself, to get something, to maintain your specialness. But the Holy Spirit will show you another possibility. To see your brother as he truly is, to join with him in the recognition of shared innocence, to extend love rather than fear. This doesn't mean you become passive or silent. It doesn't mean you never express difficult truths or set boundaries. But it means that the purpose underlying your communication changes fundamentally. You're no longer trying to change, fix, or control another person. You're not trying to win or to be understood. You're simply extending the truth of who you both are beyond the masks, beyond the roles, beyond the separation. And here's what's miraculous. When you communicate from this place of joining, your words become vehicles for healing. They carry a quality that transcends their literal meaning. People feel something different in your presence, even if they can't articulate what it is. You become a channel for the Holy Spirit's communication, which always extends love, always heals separation, always reminds everyone of their true identity. The same principle applies to your creations, your extensions. Every action you take, every project you engage in, every aspect of your life can become an extension of love rather than a defense against fear. Ask yourself, am I doing this to prove something, to get something, to maintain my separate identity? Or am I allowing this to be an expression of the love I am, an extension that blesses everyone it touches? Your true creations, your extensions of love, communicate God's reality without words. When you extend peace, you are communicating that peace is real and possible. When you extend forgiveness, you are teaching that innocence is our true nature. When you extend joy, you are demonstrating that happiness doesn't depend on external circumstances. Your very being becomes a message, a communication that heals and awakens. And let's talk about your communication with God, because this might be where you felt the most blocked. The ego has taught you that prayer is asking God for things, bargaining, begging, trying to reach across an impossible distance. But holy communication with God is simply the recognition of unity. It's not speaking to someone far away. It's resting in the awareness of your oneness with your source. You don't have to find the right words to communicate with God. You don't have to be holy enough, or good enough, or spiritual enough. You simply have to be willing to recognize that the separation never happened, that you are still as God created you, that communication between you and your Creator is constant, unbroken, eternal. Practice this today. In each interaction, silently dedicate it to the Holy Spirit. Let this be an extension of love. Let this join rather than separate. Let this heal rather than harm. And watch what happens. Watch how your relationships transform. Watch how your sense of isolation dissolves. Watch how you begin to experience the creative power that is your birthright as God's child. We've come to the end of this exploration of creation and communication, and I hope something has shifted in your awareness today. We've seen how the ego distorts both creation and communication into tools of separation, fear, and attack. We've discovered the beautiful truth that real creation is simply the extension of love, and that true communication is the recognition of our unity. And we've explored practical ways to invite the Holy Spirit to transform our daily interactions into opportunities for healing and joining. But let me leave you with this powerful truth. You are creating right now. In this very moment, you are either extending love or projecting fear. You are either communicating unity or reinforcing separation. There is no neutral ground. Every thought, every word, every action is either a creation that reflects your divine nature or a miscreation that reinforces the ego's illusions. And here's the hopeful part. You get to choose. In every single moment, you have the freedom to choose again. You can choose to see your brother as the ego sees him, separate and guilty, or as the Holy Spirit sees him, innocent and one with you. You can choose to use your words to attack and defend, or to extend peace and join. You can choose to create from fear or to extend from love. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to pause, willing to ask for help, willing to see differently. The Holy Spirit doesn't require perfection from you. He only asks for your willingness to let Him transform your perception, your communication, your creations. Remember that you are not just a body communicating with other bodies in a world of separation. You are a divine being, created by God to extend His love eternally. That is your function. That is your joy. That is your power. And nothing the ego has taught you can change this fundamental truth about who you are. As you go through your day today, practice holy communication. Let your interactions be opportunities to join rather than separate. Let your creations, whatever form they take, be extensions of love, and watch as your world transforms, not because the external circumstances have changed, but because you've chosen to see with vision instead of judgment, to extend instead of defend, to create as God creates. If this message has touched your heart, if it has opened a door to a new way of seeing, I'd be so grateful if you would click the like button. It helps this message reach others who are seeking truth, others who are ready to remember their divine creative power. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing now. We post content every day, diving deep into A Course in Miracles, exploring these life-changing teachings together. I would be honored to have you as part of our community. Most importantly, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Maybe you know someone who feels isolated, someone who struggles with communication, someone who has forgotten their creative power. Your sharing might be exactly what they need today, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, what aspect of holy communication is most challenging for you? Is it communicating with difficult people? Is it believing you can truly commune with God? Is it trusting your own creative power? Share your reflections below. Your insights enrich our community and help me understand what topics you'd like us to explore together. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Thank you for your openness to these teachings. Thank you for your willingness to see differently. You are deeply loved, perfectly innocent, and infinitely creative. May you remember this truth today and always. Until we meet again for another exploration of A Course in Miracles, may the peace of God be with you.